Learn how to build a cutting edge software solution to disrupt the recruitment industry. How CEO Terri Davis is winning with profound talent. On today's episode of the Executive Wins Podcast. Welcome to the Executive Wins Podcast, where senior leaders share their biggest wins so you can get inspired and grow your business. Here's your host, Gordon Shepherd. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Gordon Shepherd. And before I get started, I just want to remind you about some of the wonderful leadership lessons that you can learn from the executives who have already appeared on this show. For example, on episode 9, we learned how a confident leader can raise capital first and then buy the right company. And that was with CEO Petros Kuzmu from Alpine Vistas Capital. One of my big takeaways from Petros was that he had the confidence to interview potential investors and check their references first, when usually it's the other way around, and founders are just begging for capital. Thank you so much, Petros, for the lesson in how to build FOMO, as in the fear of missing out. Another big lesson for me came from Kelly Kennedy, the CEO of Capital Business Development. On episode 8, he emphasized that there are no quick wins when it comes to getting key meetings with important prospects. Instead, we should all be prepared to be consistent over time so that we can book a meeting when the timing is right for our potential client. And we should not take it personally when somebody doesn't call us back right away. It's really good advice for any senior leader who wants to grow their business in the right way. And if you are a first-time listener who wants to learn even more from these outstanding executives, then visit executivewins.com/podcast or subscribe on your favorite podcast app like Apple or Spotify. And if you'd like to watch the videos, then subscribe directly to the Executive Wins YouTube channel. On today's episode, you'll learn how to build a cutting-edge software solution to disrupt the recruitment industry, how CEO Terri Davis is winning with profound talent. But before we get started, I just want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by the Executive Wins Workshop. In this high-impact workshop, executive teams learn how to reverse engineer past wins in a structured way so they can get more wins in the future. This highly interactive session is for senior leadership teams who really want to improve profitability, processes, communication, and a whole lot more. I'll be your facilitator, bringing 25 plus years of experience and a proven system that you can learn to improve the overall results in your business. It's available in half-day, full-day, and customizable formats, and it's really good for team building and corporate retreats. There's also an in-depth version called a Wins Audit, and this is when I interview people from all levels of a company to find out how they get their wins. And then I deliver a summary to the executive team. And because I'm not in the family, the results are real. So, if you are an executive who wants to find out how the people in your company get their wins, and then also get analysis about whether or not those wins are actually aligned with your strategy, then visit executivewins.com/workshops to learn more. And now on to today's show. We are lucky to be joined by Terri Davis, an inspirational CEO and the founder of Profound Talent, a high-impact recruiting firm that takes a values-based approach to helping companies grow by attracting and retaining top talent. And not only are you going to hear about how Terri has successfully served companies in both Canada and the United States, but you're also going to learn about her vision and action-oriented approach to building a cutting-edge software that is going to disrupt the recruitment industry. It's called Oolu, and it combines insights from Terri and her team into a platform that will address a variety of issues, including the upcoming knowledge gaps and aging workforce dilemmas that affect all industries. It is a must-listen episode for any leader who wants cutting-edge recruiting and who also wants to learn how to build an agile software development team. And before we get into it, I want to remind you that this interview follows a specific format that I created called The Anatomy of a Win, to help you learn the strategy, work plan, people, operations, and results behind every business win you hear on this show. I hope that you can use this approach to reach your next business milestone. And now here's Terri Davis with her executive win. Terri, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Gord. I'm grateful to be here.
Well, I'm really grateful to have you on because we're going to hear some of the pedigree behind the business that you started,
Uh-huh.
along with one of your big wins. And I think what's going to come out here, because I've seen you as a speaker, I think what we're going to hear about is these words like authentic and do it differently and do it
Uh-huh.
better. Like that is sort of soaked in from what I've been able to learn about your approach to the work that you do. But a lot of people haven't met you before.
Uh-huh.
So, if you're at a party and you had to introduce yourself, what would you say? And please let them know who you are.
Okay, fantastic. Well, who am I? That's a big loaded question. So, I guess first I'm going to say that I'm a mom. And in fact, I'm even going to go one step further to say I'm a single mom. I've actually raised two children that are now 25 and 23 from the ages of 5 and 7. So, I've done it pretty much on my own as well as being an entrepreneur along the way. And I would like to say that I'm courageous and resilient. I've had a lot of challenges along the way as well that I've had to deal with, as many people have, and I'm sure in their lives as well. I'm extremely compassionate and caring, and really, I've honed in over my last number of years of kind of my purpose on this earth is really meant to help people to believe in themselves and inspire themselves, and to really kind of go out of their way to be bigger than what they think they can be. So to dream big, I always say be extraordinary and be profound.
Well, that is just more than I expected for getting started in there. And when I hear great words like courageous, and you're able to sort of like, what's nice is you own it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You're not sort of making that up at all. You can hear that there's a good deep sort of story underneath there. My guys are 23 and 21, so when I think about like what it takes to sort of get folks to that level, congratulations on
Thank
what you've done.
you.
Somewhere in there, in terms of setting the stage for the story that you're going to tell here today about your win, um, you had some experience in, I'm going to say, the recruiting game,
Mhm.
and then something switched where you wanted to go independent. So help us get us
Mhm.
there from maybe a bit of that backstory, and then get us to where we are now.
No, absolutely. Well, maybe I'll just kind of take you back just a bit. I started out, and I don't want to take you back to, my days back when I was, waitressing, but I started out actually working with Alberta Government Telephones as their first sales team that they ever had. That's where I gained my training from. And then I went from that over to Pfizer Pharmaceuticals, and I was part of the heyday when all the big blockbuster drugs like Viagra were launched. I was part of that, so it's another big win that I've had in my career. But from that, I was not feeling joy, and I decided to go to a search firm, a recruiting company. I always thought at the time, well, recruitment companies, they find people jobs. I really didn't know what they did. That was kind of my impression. And from that, I soon learned that they don't find people jobs. They actually find companies people. Big difference. And so with that, it really opened up to intrigue me because I was like, why do I not love these big companies I'm working for? And I started out with a smaller company and I was there for 10 years. And I started to realize it was because they're entrepreneurial. And I love the entrepreneurial aspect of work. So I did that for 10 years. I worked with one search firm in the mid market, what we call contingency search. And it was very transactional. It was very high pressure, very sales focused, high, it's commission driven. And from that, and for a number of reasons, a group of people left and we were going to go start our own firm. We ended up going into an executive search firm. So when we joined that executive search firm, I became a partner, and it was just an Alberta-based firm at the time. And I was excited to be a part of the growth of that organization to a national firm. We acquired some companies, we divested some companies, and I was leading out the executive search private sector practice here in Edmonton. So that was kind of where I got a lot of my experience through those two organizations. And I kept watching our, industry. It was I wanted to do better. Our industry lacks communication. Our industry is not great at getting back to candidates and clients. Our industry is there's not a lot of loyalty in it. And so I was watching the workforce change, and I was watching a lot of women particularly leave the workforce and want to do things differently. And but yet at that time, this was all pre-COVID. It was Monday to Friday, 8 to 4:30. So I decided, you know what? I want to go out on my own and I want to do it differently. And that's one of our core values, is to do things differently. And that's when I decided, and it took a couple of years to get the courage to actually walk out the door from what felt like a stable organization that was doing well and had a lot of experience behind it, to go start something from scratch. And that's when Profound Talent came to be in 2016. Started on my own, had 6 months of a non-compete, no income coming in. Don't forget, as a single mom, lived off lines of credit and lived off a little faith and hope that I was going to have a strong enough personal brand to go and get work in the market. And as soon as my 6 month non-compete lifted, I was blessed with many people coming forward to help me out. And from that, we started to take off. And I thought, it can't get any harder than this. It was a bad economy at the time. Nobody was really doing a lot of hiring. And we were kind of growing. And then COVID hit. So I was like, wow, COVID hits. Great. So up that, push that ball up that hill again. So we ended up doing that, and just kept being, resilient along the way. And back to the work differently. When I started the company, we were in a work share space. And I wanted to hire people that could work differently. So I started the 9 to 3 working hours. And so who knew I was ahead of the game of COVID? So COVID hits, and that just kind of opened it up to do things differently for the world. And then from that, I've just always continued to innovate and to look forward and say, how can I do things differently? And that's kind of been the theme of my career.
Courageous, innovate, do it differently. So many people have that sort of, I'm going to say, worked here for a while, didn't like the vibe. Most people don't have the bundle, in a sense, to do what you did. So, you know what I mean? So there's some resiliency in there too. And you're reacting to the industry from a very authentic place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. You can hear your core values kind of screaming through in that moment. And then you make that shift. You then set up your own search scenario since 2016 now, for that time, and it has been able to reflect your values. I really enjoyed, by the way, reading your values on your website. See if you can remember them. It's so funny. I believe and inspire, treat people as they want to be treated, communicate authentically. I mean, there's another bunch in there, and including the profound promise. A lot of you would have had a lot of influence on making that copy get written. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? Quite honestly, when I wrote that, I wrote it when I had no employees, because I was like, you know what? I'm going to grow this, and I want, who am I? And what do I want to exude to the world? And so I wanted to put out what my personal values are. And that is something that we live to every day in our company. And an example of that is, we touch so many people with recruiting. We're talking to so many individuals, and I don't care if it's an executive or an individual contributor. People lose their jobs, and we forget that, a lot of search firms, becomes a transaction. It's like, well, we got a company that needs to hire somebody, and we're going to put somebody into that job. And then you kind of forget about it. And all the other, candidates that didn't get moving forward, they often don't get communicated with. They're left wondering, and they're kind of left in the dark. And I was hearing that all the time. And I thought, there is a human respect about all this. And, at the end of the day, how would I want to be treated, right? I would want somebody to call me back. And we forget, and I've talked to so many executives, that at the end of the day, they are, they may have been a CEO of a company, but they have the same worries that when they lose a job, how am I going to put food on the table? What does my reputation in the market look like? And I don't care, they have the same, worries, concerns. And so part of, again, what I work with our team is about adding value to anybody we talk to. Be human, put yourself in their shoes. How hard is it to make a simple phone call? And if we can't actually, add value to them with giving them a job, then what can we do to help uplift them? What can we do to help inspire them? What can we do to add value to help them along their way so that they can find a job? So that's the values I bring forward to our team and to our community.
You must sleep like a baby.
I do. I actually do. I know a lot of people don't sleep, but I actually do. So, yeah.
Right. When you're able to go there, do you know what I mean? Because then you would know somebody that wasn't aligned with your values. And I work as an advisor and coach, and I've worked with senior leadership teams, and I know the awful side of recruitment's worst reputation.
Yep.
I'm overcharged. They sent me the wrong person. Waste of time, and they're very frustrated, right? So almost immediately it's antagonistic. And I've also then, over the years, worked with recruiters, and some of them, that transactional one is such a turnoff. I have a friend of mine in Toronto who's just getting crushed in his area, where he hangs up the phones on recruiters now. Like, it's
Yeah.
gotten that bad. Now he's in sort of that lower wage band. So again, it's all like movement quickly, and again, he doesn't feel
Yeah.
respected. So how nice to know that you were able to set things up, be successful, and now
Uh-huh.
for what, hundreds of people over that time or more, you've been
Yeah.
able to then help them, feel respected and really experience the way you wanted them to experience. Is that fair?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm in my ninth year of business as Profound. I've been in this industry for, 25 plus years. So, and that's again, it's just coming back to who you are and what you want people to feel and what you want to leave as a legacy on this earth. And that truly is what and I've appreciated people who've done that for me because I've had moments where I've been down. I've had challenges, right? And so you know what? It's the people that lift you up. I had my dad passed away of pancreatic cancer a number of years ago, and I used to, feel so guilty when people wanted to help me because I was in my lowest of lows when he was passing, and I'd always want to give him a gift card to something, and he's like, Terry, he goes, when you're on your high and you're doing well, lift people up, and when you're on your low, allow others to lift you up. And so it's just been something that's sat with me all the time. Is like, we're here to help lift each other up, and we're all at different phases all the time. So how do we do it? This is how.
You don't sound like a transactional recruiter. You sound like an authentic human being who's got words like legacy, courage, do
Yeah.
it differently in mind. How lucky for the people that work for you. And again, I wish we were here for about 3 hours. We would dig into all these different things. But
Yes.
the point of the podcast here is to actually get an opportunity to say, if you had to describe one of your biggest wins in business in the last couple of years, what would it be and how would you describe it?
Okay, well, I thought about that, and I've had a lot of wins, and I've had a few losses too. But the one that I'm going to talk about today, because it's pretty exciting to me, is and I'm actually you're almost kind of the first to probably know about this, so consider this exclusive. We are actually in process, and as part of our work differently, of launching a new technology this summer that is going to be quite innovative and going to be very disrupting of the marketplace. Took me a few years with the vision in my mind to get to the point of where we are today. We're under development. We're halfway through our development. We have a strong team that's getting it ready. We're getting ready with all our marketing collateral to start launching into market. We've already started a little bit, and it's coming, and it's going to be big.
Okay, so I just need to understand, and you can tell me how much you can tell me. You can, in terms of what we're going to reveal here. Is it software? Is that what's going on?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Okay, so is it an AI-driven solution in your marketplace?
Yes, it is. Yes, I'm
Perfect.
happy
So
to share it. Yeah.
yeah, perfect. And do we have a working title that we can give it? You don't even have to give me the real one, but can we have a working title at least?
Yeah, so I'll tell you the brand name. We've come up with it. We've trademarked it, or we're down the journey of trademarking it in Canada and the U.S. And the company is called Oolu, Oolu. And we've already got Oolu.ai is our web domain. If you were to go on today, it's a landing page right at the moment. It's very basic to join our waitlist, to go on our journey with us. But there is a lot of amazing things coming out in the marketplace soon. So we'd love for you to join us.
Well, you've just given me a good gift because the rest of this conversation is going to be fascinating because I'm going to dig into what I call the anatomy of a win, where when I hear what the win is and I work with leaders, we get into what is the strategy, the work plan, the people, operations, and results behind the win that you're describing. So you're launching your groundbreaking app in the recruitment space. You're going to disrupt the recruitment space. Congratulations. I think that's outstanding. What was the strategy, as in the vision, the mission, the values, the goals behind getting into the AI SaaS game, which is a big game and it's a lot. I mean, it doesn't take a day. That's a big commitment. What was the strategy from Profound or your point of view to get into this game?
Well, it started with, quite frankly, again, remember I shared back with you when I was talking to candidates and they wanted to work differently and do the 9 to 3. Well, I started to see that way back, and being a single mom, I was, kind of recognizing all the ways that the workforce is changing. And because I'm at the forefront of it, I'm always watching the workforce and what's happening with it. And there's a few changes that are happening. We have an aging workforce. So 20% of the marketplace is age 55 years and older. So we are going to be having a brain drain in our communities and in our business world over the next 10 years. So we are going to have knowledge gaps within organizations. And we don't have the people ready yet to move up into those roles. So there's going to be this gap that we need to fill. That's the first part. The second part is with the aging marketplace. We have, again, individuals that are not yet ready to retire. They want to kind of maybe move on, but they want to still keep their toe in the water and work a little bit for sometimes financial reasons. Sometimes it's just they love to share their knowledge. So we see that there's a marketplace where people want to stay in it even past the age of 65, but they want to work differently. And then post-COVID, we also have the COVID era and workforce that is saying, you know what, this, I like hybrid. I don't want to work in an office anymore, and I want to work differently. And life has now become very important. And back when, pre-COVID, not that life wasn't important, but we just had our head in the game differently for working, right? So for all these reasons, I was kind of watching this over the years, and I was like, you know what? The market's changing. The workforce is changing. How do we now bring something together that helps facilitate this workforce that's changing to meet the needs of business? And how do business, grasp onto this new workforce? So and you'll probably have heard the term because it's kind of common. It's called the fractional workforce or the fractional employee. And really, fractional means part-time. So fractional is, in its simplest form, is part-time. You have also interim management solutions where that's been around forever. And it's like, a CEO leaves and we need an interim CEO while we're looking for the permanent person. So that has been a term around a long time. All search firms have done fractional work. We've done, interim management solutions, but we do it manually. And the challenge is that most search firms are generally doing permanent work only. And then when a client happens to call and says, hey, we need a fractional CFO, you kind of go, who do I know in my back pocket that might not be working right now that wants to do this? So nobody's been doing it well. And we've got all these people that can't find the companies. We have the companies that can't find the people. And so as the market's changing, we're starting to see more demand on the client side to hire fractional. And we're seeing more interest on the candidate side to move into that space. So for all these reasons, I was like, how do we bring forward and disrupt our market in the recruiting space, which is highly manual, and do it differently? And so we chose to go down the path of a very defined market segment, being the fractional marketplace, and also to service, for example, smaller, medium-sized scaling companies don't always have the need to hire somebody, let's say a CFO, for 40 hours a week. They may only need it 10 hours. Sometimes they don't even know they need it until they get it, and then they can't believe they didn't have it. So that's kind of one area. And then other times as well, these businesses also don't have the dollars to pay a $300,000 salary for a fractional CFO. So then they just lose out. And then they don't have the fee dollars to pay a recruitment firm to go find it.
So you've jumped in, and Oolu was born. Sorry, this is the second inflection in your success story. So you said, I wanted to do it differently in 2016. You jumped and you leapt well, and you set up your organization. You've been doing it for that length of time. Now you're at another inflection point where you're seeing things. You're on trend in the marketplace, and you're also not putting your head in the sand. And saying, well, we'll just try and keep doing it the same way as long as that sort of gravy train rides along. You're actually trying to get out in front of what looks like is happening. You're acknowledging these aging knowledge gaps and then this fractional piece, which you're really going to address. So I'm going to say the problem or the strategy in a sense is you're going to solve this fractional problem for those small and medium-sized businesses who are scaling. I'm sure it does more than that, but that sort of gets us right in the zone of exactly what it's going to do. Is that fair?
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's bigger companies that will use this as well. Like you might have somebody leaving and they are needing to fill that knowledge gap and bring somebody in so that they can help mentor the succession of somebody up.
So you're going to go through your validation steps anyway. You've got a target right now. You've got your current base that you can translate from analog into this world anyway. So you've already got sort of a stepping off point in terms of how that's going to go. So the strategy really is that thing of like being on trend, getting out in front of what the current sort of scenario is, using all of your backstory and intelligence. This is really interesting because you would have been obviously, it gets us really well into the next question. We've got our strategy. We understand it. be on trend, build this cool thing, acknowledge what the marketplace and what problems they need to solve today, and we're going to solve that. That's wonderful. The
Mhm.
second step in the anatomy of a win is if we have a strategy, we need a work plan.
Mhm.
So you don't sort of wake up one morning and say, "Oh, I'm just going to build some software."
Yeah.
Right? If we got the timeline out on the whiteboard, what was the sort of
Yeah.
starting month and year when this kind of got going, and how long has it taken? Because you said you're on the verge of launch. The
Mhm.
what was that starting month, and what was the process up to now?
Yeah, so I'm going to step back one bit on this too, because I probably had this idea about 2 years ago, and I was trying to figure it out on the side of my desk. Like, how do I do this? And then I happened to come across a chief technology officer and was like, hey, could you help me with this? And so he's like, sure, I'd love to help you. And so he was doing it off the side of his desk. So we were kind of both, and not this specific. It's been much more refined. It was very different back then, but we were kind of talking about technology disruption. And quite frankly, neither of us were doing it well. It was nothing was happening with it because we were both doing it off the side of our desks. So it kind of fell flat. I'm a big, opportunistic individual where, we're lucky in the recruitment industry because I always like to say I get the cream of the crop because I get to meet all sorts of amazing people. And when I find somebody amazing, I try to bring them onto my team. And so I happened to come into play with somebody who I thought was amazing. And I hadn't really thought of them to actually do this technology or help me with this. It was really come onto my team and help take some of the operations piece off so that I can continue to build Profound, but I have some other ideas and I want to kind of take off that path as well. Well, it turns out this person I brought onto my team has actually worked in the technology space before, not in development, but was connected in that space and had a bit of a understanding, not knowing everything about it, but had a way to navigate it. So when I started to figure this out, I was like, you know what? You take this and you run with this and you go help navigate this and help me get this launched. And so she ended up taking this and through her connections, and it's interesting when you're trying to launch a technology, it's not as easy. There's so many, you're trying to navigate what do you need first, who do you need to go to, and what have you. And some of it, I'll tell you, it started with a sponsorship in for tech or association. Through that, we ended up having two companies that we had to choose to give an award to. And so we read through the bios on the background of it, and we just decided we're going to give it to this one company that happened to be a product management company. Not really thinking much of this other than we're giving this award away, and wow, look at us, we're getting to sponsor this. After that, we're like we had some business advisors that we were talking to, and those business advisors said, you need a product manager. We're like, huh. So we, call up the person we gave the award to. And we're like, hey, could you help us with this? And I'm going to throw out a bit of a mention on them because they're amazing. And it's a company called Tacit Edge, and they're out of Calgary. And it's Krista Hill and Renee Matsula. And so they are the founders, and they actually train and teach product managers how to be amazing product managers. So through that, she understood what we were doing, and she said, I want to be on your team. I want to be the one to do this. And normally she doesn't jump in on things like this. So we were quite like, wow, we're lucky. So she actually, this is probably about a year and a half ago, she came on board and she started to test our idea and really go into market to say, do we have like product validate? Do we have an actual product? Do we have a marketplace for this? Is this valid? What are people saying about it? What does it look like? Again, through this journey, we end up, my colleague, she ends up saying, hey, I know this software developer person through my network. Let's talk to him. We talked to a few different people, and we end up bringing him on board and saying, he's like, I want to be on your team. And so let me help you with this. So he started building out all of our Figma, that is all of our literally product and what it's going to look like, because you build this out before you actually go into development because you want to ensure, and then we product test along the way with wireframes. So we were doing all of that in the last year. And then from that, we get to the point and we're like, okay, now the big step, we've invested some money, of course, but the big step is when you got to really invest the dollars. And that is like the big, like, okay, now we're really in because there's some big money that has to happen. And that's Profound Talent's been helping to pay for this development. And we've had a little bit of grants, which we've been trying to navigate as well. So So through all of this, we end up getting, we did get some small grants, and we're now going for a bigger grant. And then Profound's helping to fund this venture. And in January, we said, okay, let's go, let's make this happen. And so January is when we actually officially started going full storm on building this software. And our developers are working it super hard. We actually plan to have it completed by end of April. But we want to leave a couple months where we're going to have some testing, obviously, to make sure all the bugs are out, and then our official launch plans. And they're probably going to kill me for saying this. Our intention is June, but they're, we're supposed to say summer because you never know what happens. But so far, it's
Well,
on track.
and we're lucky that you're just loaded for bear and a wonderful speaker, because it's just I'm lucky to not even have a chance to sort of jump in here. You're just telling a great story, and I'm just I'm going to unpack some of the highlights in terms of what we're doing here. So the win is you get Oolu. You get the idea 2 years ago. Then a year and a half ago, it gets a bit more serious, and there's a bit of sort of happenstance, but also some serendipity, but also then it's mixed in with your vision for changing things. And then you had the understanding, and you could, as an entrepreneur, pull the levers. So I could hear that thing of like, oh, wait a minute, I'm not good at that. I've got this new person. I thought they were going to be this, but now we're going to do this. Oh, I was in this circumstance, and then I put that piece in place. My guess is that what is big part of what makes you a successful entrepreneur anyway, like in terms of no matter what you're kind of dealing with.
Yeah.
Then you're into this sort of looking for testing your minimum viable ideas. So you're getting product market fit. You get sort of past that step of like, yeah, we think we can, validate along the way to kind of do that. You look at non-dilutive funding sources, on the grant side, and then you've got your own skin in the game. I'm just going to say hundreds of thousands, not knowing how far you've gone. I'm just going to say that's the reality of
about it.
right, like from the outside looking in, and that's a big commitment for a company, any company, to make, especially when you got to go out and the hard work. Funny enough. Building it, you understand, is difficult. The harder part is going to be getting your user adoption and hitting those different hockey stick moments that you are on the way to doing, which is pretty neat. So how wonderful that we've got the strategy, that got your ability to guide the situation. That's pretty neat. You know what I mean? It's not, you're not sort of uni-focused. You've got this sort of malleability to sort of take on opportunities as they come up. You're moving in at the time of trend when you know that's very important to shift your business into, make this part of your business. We got through the strategy. We talked about the work plan, some of those big ideas. The third step is people, but you've described some of the people. You have a product development person. You've got a person internally. You've got kind of yourself. You've got a CTO in the background you mentioned. So again, if we did
well, yeah. So the CTO from 2 years ago is not there anymore. We have a new, but yeah.
But part of the journey is just like that if we actually laid out all the stakeholders that have been involved and had a touch on this at some point, and there's going to be even more, because you've got, your programming issues, and then you're going to get into a marketing scenario as you kind of go forward and do these different things along with all the testers. So, and I don't mean to belabor the people one, because you've just described it so well, that step as the third step in what we talked about. But how would you describe underneath that for one or two of the key players? We know their roles and responsibilities so far. How would you describe the attitudes? Like, how would you describe your attitude? Like, are you smiling every day, or do you get down in the dumps, or how do you keep being resilient? Because getting software up and running is tough.
Yeah. So, it's interesting because, first I want to, put a shout out to my Profound team. So we have a Profound team that is still doing our executive and mid-professional level search. They're doing our day-to-day, keeping that rolling. I'm still out, driving sales and market with that and keeping connected in that marketplace. And then we have Oolu over here doing, its. And so anybody that we hire into our team, generally speaking, on the Profound actual hired employees, in essence, wear multiple hats, because we're entrepreneurial. It is like we have a lane that we stay in probably 90% of the time, but you know what? When you got to get out of your lane because you got to jump over here because we're, needing your support over here, they're jumping over there. And so we have this resilience within our team. And so when we hire, it's like, hey, you know what? This is, we've got processes, we've got systems, but let me tell you, we're entrepreneurial. So things are going to change, and you have to be ready to wear that, multiple hats. So that is one big piece of our people. And then, so we have our core Profound team, but then speaking of fractional, we do have a fractional product officer. We have a fractional chief marketing officer. We have a fractional chief technology or software development officer. And we actually have a fractional individual who does all of our grant writing and business plan writing and all that kind of stuff. So we are living, the world of fractional, and we have the permanent as well. So there is a place for both in an organization, and Profound Talent is that permanent side, and Oolu will be the fractional side. Mm-hmm.
You built the foundation, the people base. You are
Mm-hmm.
obviously starting right from you as that
Yeah.
solo person, getting things set up. You had the values and the vision so that when you onboard somebody, they're coming into that culture that you've built,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the culture that allows the agility to have two things going on at the same time. We have our core business, of course we have to do our core
Mm-hmm.
business, but we also have to innovate because you know that you need to sort
Mm-hmm.
of move this thing forward, and you look like you're trying to hit one out of the park, which is pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's funny, it'd be great to do this follow-up interview in
Yeah.
whatever that is, a year from
Yeah.
now, just to see, because there's so much work that goes into this. Well, this is just remarkable. So I said strategy, we talked about the work plan, so many good insights into the people and you, and we've learned a lot
Mm-hmm.
about that. The fourth step in there of the five steps is to talk about operationally what's in play. In this
Mm-hmm.
case, there are privacy issues. There
Mm-hmm.
are regulatory issues if you're crossing borders. There
Mm-hmm.
are software development, wireframe, all the technical issues that are going along.
Oh.
Operationally, there's things and people to track down. And I don't mean for you to describe the minutiae of
Yeah.
everything, but operational highlights. How would you
Mhm.
describe some of those so that we can understand what was contributing in that way to get this win?
Mm. Well, and you know what? And as I listed out all my fractional individuals that are working with us, I neglected to say we have a fractional CFO as well. And she has been amazing. She's been with me for over 6, 7 years now. And she has done all the financial modeling, which are to the T. Like we have done some major insights as to where are we today? Where are we going? How are we getting there? What's our 5 year, pro forma looking like? She's like built tables to allow us to manipulate to say if we change the price here, what happens here? We've had to look at because our intention is that we are launching in Alberta, and then we are going across Canada, and then we're going right into the U.S. And I know that may cause some, some, disruption right now as far as that goes, but that was our intention before everything happened. And so ultimately, there is a lot of complication around that when you're working in multiple markets. You have all of your tax differences. How do you handle that? So we are still learning through some of that, and we're getting tax experts on, and we are getting individuals on what kind of insurance do we need, and we are actually working with the financial. So our platform will actually do all the financial of taking money from the company's account, putting it into the fractional employee's account. It will, it's going to be a full start from finish, matching, background checks all online, billing all online, contract all negotiated online. So it is going to be a very easy platform. And so all of that, like when you're looking at the financial piece too, you've got to make sure, like, do we have partners? So we're working with some financial partners in the back end to make sure that, there's authentication and verification, and that, you're getting, again, you're dealing with people's money. So you've got to have, again, a lot of rigor behind that, right? To
The
make sure.
assurances that go along with it, so you can hear, and you're also still sounding enthusiastic as a
Mhm.
learn as you go type person.
Yeah.
Like these are daunting moments. There's certain moments. I ran into a technology company recently where they thought the regulations were going to break their way in the construction industry, and it took another 3 years. And so they
Hmm.
had to go and find other global markets for their products where the regulations were different.
Hmm.
So those things are the peaks and valleys that you have kind of going along the way, and you're in the learn as you go. But you sound undaunted. Is that
You know
fair?
what? I will tell you, I've had a lot of points in my life where I've had very big challenges, and I have been, tried to control everything. I've, had anxiety in the past, where I've had, anxiety challenges. And to be truthful, I am very faith-based now, and I let go. And I go, okay, guide me on my journey here. Look after us. Close the doors that need to be closed, and open the doors that need to be opened. And when that happens, quite frankly, I just let go. I let go and I let it happen, and it is working. I lean on people that are smarter than me, like my CFO, and like our product development, and like our software developers, and then you know what, we have blips, but we don't have blips because we iterate as we go. And You know, like when we have moments where like fearful on something and going and questioning it, we go, okay, well then talk to our, like I just actually got off a call with our product manager and said, okay, so are we sure we validated this? And she's like, Terry, we validated it, and here's this, and here's remember what we're, and here's how we're going to do it. So she inspires me too when I start to have fear. So we all lean on each other, and the beauty in all of this is we have a team that I sometimes sit there and I actually said this to her. I said, they are putting so many hours in, and not because, you know, again, I'm just paying them as a job. It is actually because they are passionate about this and they want to see it happen. Like they're so enthused, almost as enthused as I am. And yeah, and I sit there and go, wow, like how are you on board and so excited about this? And they just are. And they see the vision and they believe in it and they're part of it, and they're on for the journey. So I'm
Let it go. I think if people just stop listening right there, there are senior leaders that listen to this podcast that if they could just get that, and I'm going to say as much as the words that you're saying is there's the tone in your voice which really reflects how earned that is. It's, you know what I mean? That no one's born with that. You got to go through some life, but to get to that wise, again, succinct way to express during a roller coaster, right? And whether it's COVID or new product development or upset in your personal life, we know what I mean? There's these things, but to get to that moment, and then thank you for gifting that out in, again, letting us hear really, again, a lesson that all of us can use. We know that, but you're living it, and living it at a time when how nice for your team that you're not in the panic mode, right? From that leaders can let get out of control. You're in that mode of like, no, we're doing it. And there's a faith aspect to other things have worked out for you. I can hear it. And you know this one's going to work out for you too. I mean, that's just, we could talk about that one for another 4 hours. So that's just wonderful to hear the way that you've put that together. We talked about the strategy. We talked about the work plan. We talked about the people and how the interactive part, that not just bosses, but everybody's learning from each other and you're supporting each other. We talked about the operational components. We started to touch on what that looks like. The final step in the anatomy of a win is to talk about the results. So we've got this moment you described, hey, we got it this far. We're launching in the summer, right? But that will occur. But if we had to describe sort of the qualitative and quantitative results at this point for your win, how would you describe them?
How do I describe it on the quantitative side? You know, we're on budget. So we have a team, we have a project team that's keeping us on budget for what we built in our pro formas. We have gone out, solicited grants. We've got some bank funding that has helped us a little bit as well. And of course, we have our own funding. So, you know, everything is on par right now to where we need it to be. We are on schedule for our project. We have not had any challenges yet with it. So, I mean, who knows? There could be, and maybe my software developer isn't telling me about them and he's just fixing them along the way. But so far it's going fantastic. So, you know, we have an amazing marketer who is fractional with us, who is actually building out our ads and starting to get ready and getting our website done. So we are on target for everything that we put in our business plan. It's going like clockwork. So, you know, at this point, could something throw us off? Absolutely. You never know. But we're so determined that, you know, one of the things that I lead by as well is grit. And at the end of the day, it's like, you know, I used to be described when I went to leave my last search firm. I said, do you think I can do it? And I asked a couple of people and they're like, Terry, if I know you, you're like a dog on a bone. You will not let something die. You will figure it out. You'll get over it and you'll make it happen. And that's just what I do. And it's just in my DNA. So there's nothing that's going to take this down. It's not going to be either a win or a fail. It is, and even my product manager will say that, hey, software is, you get it out, but there's always going to be learnings along the way and iterations, and that's just what software is when it goes into the market. So, and we have a product roadmap already built out. So what we're launching is the start, but we have a lot of amazing stuff and some pretty big vision for this, and we're excited to see it continue fruition.
The result is the business plan is on track. And this is a complicated business plan. Like this is not a straightforward, we're setting up something simple. You hit your targets, call them KPIs or whatever along the way. You know that you're on track for what you've committed to. You've also got that right attitude from what I hear in the software game where you don't know that it's going to happen for sure because you still got to get it out to market and prove those things out. But you've been doing your diligence along the way to get the results that you have so far. Sounds like your people are excited, motivated, and that summertime will hit a specific date at some point. It sounds like by the summer, whenever that day is, there will be a launch day, and you'll be ready to get it out to the world, and then the tough work begins.
No, the
Like
tough
right.
work's already now. We're right in the crux of the tough work, actually. I mean, as much as there's lots that happens along the way. So, as much as the software development team is building the software, we are launching in summer, and it's not an if it's going to launch. It's not a how it is going out, and it will be. Our intention is June, but again, we want to just buffer it a little bit in case you have some bugs along the way you got to work through. But we've built that into our plan as
Well,
well.
and from what I can hear, you're the right person to be steering the whole thing. You
Mhm.
put yourself in the steer it position from a values-based approach. You've got the people around you that are
Mhm.
like-minded because you've been able to onboard them not over like a week, like
Yeah.
over years. You've built out these relationships to have
Mhm.
that going along. It sounds like you've got just the savviness in every aspect of your business that you touch. So
Yeah.
whether you are informed or not, you're getting that right, smarter person in their area, but you're still able to be the glue to the
Yeah.
whole thing. If you had to put a bow on this win, just sort of a little summary of how far you've gotten up to this point, how would you sort of summarize that for us as we get towards the end of the interview here?
Well, I'm going to go back to my mantra when I started Profound was dream big, be extraordinary, be profound. And I'm going to say dream big. Anything is possible. There's always going to be things that get in your way. Have courage, have resilience. Don't let fear drive you, because we all have fears. It's about getting the information. When you get the information, that information helps allow you to get over the fear because you're now guided by knowledge. And so if you have that knowledge, then you can make decisions off of it. And so that even our financial forecasting and pro forma, we're looking at it, weekly, daily to go, okay, what's happening here on this side and what's happening over here and has anything changed? And so, we are just staying abreast of it. So dream big, be extraordinary, be profound, and be Oolu.
And be Oolu. I love it. It's overnight success, 30 years in the making. I can hear when you got it that dialed in terms of where you've gotten it to. Super pleasure to have you on. I think any leader that listens to this is going to gain a lot of courage from hearing your approach to things. Terri, if people need to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so they can always find me on LinkedIn, and you're also always welcome to reach out to me. I have two emails. I have tdavis@profoundtalent.com and tdavis@oolu, again, which is OOLU.ai. So either way.
I can't let you get out of here without saying why. Where's the name? What's the name from? Why
Oh,
Oolu?
that's a journey. And I wish I had something really profound to say about Oolu, but we actually, interestingly enough, we had a couple different names that we wanted, and we wanted to get trademarked in Canada and trademark in the US. And it's amazing how many trademark challenges you have when you have a defined alphabet of A to Z and different ways you can make a word. And so, quite frankly, we said, okay, we finally got to the point of what is a short, snappy word that we could put together that actually is trademarkable and kind of catchy and Ulu, and it was due to our chief marketing officer. He
And
came up with
you're
it.
able to pull that off because that whole search in and of itself. Again, I remember you're just reminding me now when the kid, before the kids are born, and my wife had the 10,000 name book out, and I was the no guy. I was like, nope, nope,
Yeah.
nope. And then Jack was there, and Riley was there, and anybody that's named kids knows that kind of process. But you had that really pragmatic approach. I could keep talking to you all day long. Terri, thank you so much for being on the show.
Well, thank you. I'm grateful for the opportunity, and I appreciate you learning about our win and our story. And I look forward to staying in touch, and I look forward to watching us on our journey. And I'm happy to come back next year and tell you how it's going.
Be positive, dream big, and surround yourself with the right people. That is how Terri Davis built Profound Talent, and that is how she will be successful with her new recruiting app called Oolu. Thank you, Terri, for sharing your inspiring win. And if you enjoyed listening to this episode, then make sure to check out our other episodes, which include how to effectively buy a company so you can grow your business to a national level, how CEO Mike Schoenberger and his team got a win for Sunco. And if you and your leadership team want to learn the anatomy of a win so you can reverse engineer your past wins in a structured way to get more business wins in the future, then check out our workshops at executivewins.com/workshops to learn more. You can also subscribe to the Executive Wins monthly newsletter to stay up to date on the podcast, live events, education opportunities, and more. Visit executivewins.com/newsletter to sign up. And if you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe, and share it with a fellow leader. And don't forget to check out our resources and links in the show notes. And keep listening to the Executive Wins podcast for more inspiring wins that will help you grow yourself, your team, and your entire business. Thanks for listening to the Executive Wins podcast. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe as we bring you more inspiring wins from outstanding leaders so you can grow your business.